We'll get started anyway. Bit of a shadow. Great.
Onegaishimasu.
Okay, good. We'll just start loosening up. Just find a bit of a bounce. And settling into the feet. And bringing into the arms, swinging down. And taking across the chest. And adding a little bit of rotation, finding the shoulder. And taking it down to the hips, casting the hands away and back. Okay, circling the hips, nice big circles. And change direction. Yeah, reaching up, open up the sides. Body. Making fists, rotating with the elbow back. taking the leg side to side. Now bringing the toes up inside. You know what? Coming up, feet forward. Some hinge the hips down a little bit. Straighten the arm, press them into the top of the legs. And just taking a little bit of rotation, looking over the back shoulder. Sides. And taking the body one direction, the back toes point forward, pressing the heel down towards the ground. Switching over. Switch again, take a little bit wider, let the back knee lower off the ground, a little bit lower with the hips. Feels comfortable, just take the stretch a little bit further into the knee. Forward. And change over. Take the knee off the ground. And then taking to a low squat. Just using the hands, switching it to like. Mobilizing out the hips. Bringing the feet together, just take it to a forward fold. And slowly to the top. Good. And we'll just take a little bit more swings, a little bit more dynamic than the first one. Really let the knees and so hips rise and fall into the ground. Releasing through the arms all the time. And then just a little bit of a variation on this one. I'm going to re-uncheck the camera a little bit. find like a claw position, and then go up onto your toes. So you're like in a claw position with the hands. Pull up onto the toes, so the heel's floating off the ground. Just a little bit more of an active foot position, active hand position. But see if you can find that same kind of swing. So you're floating the heels to the ground. A little bit more of a balancing job for the body. And see if you can keep the shoulders soft, hips soft, as you can maintain those active hand and foot positions. Give it a try. Find a better position. 1 second. Maybe I should have not given you the view. That was the mistake. Okay, keep going. I'm just going to move. With me. We go. Tour of the park while you're here. Good. Okay, great. Much nicer. There we go. That's better. Oh, that's not. Oh. Yeah, where's that? Okie doke. Great. Good. And then settle the feet back down in this one. And then go into a swing, which is a circle swing. Still keep that feeling of the knees being soft. And especially in this one, checking the alignment between the hip, the knee, and the foot. It's a little bit more complicated, but following the same basic pattern that the knee just falling towards the foot. In this one, because the tendency is to rotate and twist into the knee. So once you've got the handwork coordinated, just check in with that alignment. So the downward swing, falling towards the feet, and the up, really working the alignment with the ground. Good. Okay, good. It's moving. Good. Great. Perfect. Okay. Okay, good. And again, doing the same thing, but just working with an active hand position, active foot position. So claw position with the hand, just float the heels off the ground. And look for the same movement. Just a little bit tricky in terms of balance. It's a bit trickier to release the shoulder. Just play with switching the direction every so often with it. There you go. All right, very nice. Okay, I'm going to give you one before the digger comes and makes it float note. Think about, in this case, you're going to do like a upward swing and then a horizontal path down, really like a kind of slapping motion. So if you think about, just make the hand kind of wide, just play with this kind of motion. So the thing to play with in this case is the weight coming up from the ground, and then think about this hand entering this foot. So you swing the hand up, you raise from a neutral position, and then drop into the leg. Raise from a neutral position, drop into the leg, just one side. And the other leg can be mobile as you do it. As you Go into it. Hello. Yes. Yeah, yeah. Good. And then just play with alternating the side. Got a few on this one side. Play with alternating. So you raise from neutral, enter the opposite side foot. Back to neutral, opposite side foot. Raise, training across the body. The connection. A little bit harder to coordinate. You're looking for like a weighted hand without pushing and pulling it. Drop the weight into it. Good, great. That's it. Right. And then rather than a slap, make it like a strike. So just make a tighter fist as you can. And the tighter fist as you can basically keep the shoulder free. So if that's a kind of loose fist, that's fine. But just play with how tight you can make the fist, how free you can keep the shoulder. Play with the same kind of alignment. So if you think about an upward swing, and then entering into it, it's going to be a little bit shallower because you're working with a punch. So generally the direction is working with the knuckles, kind of going into it. So play with this one a little bit. The slap's a bit more of a kind of downwards kind of swing going this way. And the strike's probably going to be a little bit more out, but it's still going to kind of come back to the body in this case. So think about an upward swing. And again, think about training across the body in this case, where you're just going to let the body enter that one leg. It's more like a kind of hook, striking punch. But again, think about keeping a strong fist and a really free release shoulder. And the hips are free too. Just engage the movement through the body. Very good. Great. Okay, good. Yeah, so in a way, why a slap's a little bit easier, and it's more of like go-to. Slaps are easier to teach in a sense because you're basically just dropping the elbow in. So I really only have to make a connection here and drop the elbow to the body. Striking punching is really much more tricky because you have to basically have the elbow in a position where it can inject the movement. So just play with this as you come into it. You can use the other hand as a little bit of feedback for it, but you want a really strong alignment from the elbow through the shoulder, and then the feeling with the punch is that the elbow is injecting the movement from the shoulder, so and from the hip. So just play with no kind of right or wrong with this, but the only alignment is to think about that the fist, the knuckles, and then the elbow, and then the ability for the shoulder to just express through that connection. So again, punching in is a little bit more tricky than a slapping motion. In terms of just the ability for the arm to swing in, and then really needing the alignment to be in place to inject the fist into the body, which is generally why we start punching in a sense of just these kind of movements, instead of just teaching this alignment or this idea of the elbow injecting. Yeah, good. Good. Very good. And the next one, similar. Don't do this too hard, but think about just low with it. Similar kind of idea. The main weakness with the punch is that the strike does it, or the hand is basically pulling out from the body. So just think about being in this position. You're just going to wind the hip and connect it to the fist. And it's just the feeling of doing this. This. And I don't really do anything with the hand in this case, just in this first exercise. So you're just basically like pulling the connection and then dropping it back in, pulling it, dropping it back in, pulling it, dropping it back in. So it's a very really kind of minimal exercise. You're just trying to get the hip or the fist working from the hip basically. So but very light. Work on both sides of it. Don't do too strongly. No. Good. And then do the same, just working with 3 positions. You got the straight knuckle position here. You got the back of the hand here, and you've got the hammer side of the fist working this way. Again, just be careful with it, but you're just playing with that alignment. Again, the ability for the hip to create the motion. Hip creates the motion. Hip creates the motion. They've just all got a little bit of different feeling. So you just want the idea that the hip is able to with the body. If the hand gets sore, you can switch sides a little bit. And if it gets really sore, just play with just the connection. Just the connection. It's actually better to do with a board like Bernie's got. You're just exploring different hand positions. But just be careful, you don't want to put too much weight into it. Great. Good. Great. Got it. Good. And then just go back to a free movement with it, bringing back the extension with the elbow, and think about that kind of impact out. So there's a feeling of the hip squeezing the connection out, rather than the fist pulling away from the body, which is the kind of common one that a lot of people go to. So just think about grounding into the body, striking out, grounding, striking out. And once you're really comfortable with it, just start to shift and play with the feet. So nothing fancy. You're just changing the orientation of the leg and just playing with the ability of the body to ground to one side. And then again, express the hip work into the strike. And you can play with different positions, front of the knuckle, like a hammer fist, back of the hand, also looking at more like a 𝘭𝘪𝘡 work. Again, just play with the connection. Good, great. Nice, good, good, right. Great. Super. Okay, grab a bokken. We'll do some suburi. Great. So we'll build up into the first suburi. Just working actually with a very similar thing first, but what you're doing now with the work at the hands is really doing them together. So just think about a release and just going into a snap. Just focusing first on the hands, so don't worry about the hips at all. Don't worry about the feet. Just releasing and settling into the cut. You just want to check on the grip that it's full. And one thing to play with is play with each hand doing it separately. So one right hand, left hand, both together. But you just want to feel that the grip is even. Feel strong in both sides of the body. And then the real work then is to start to get them really working together. Together, together, together. Good. Great. See it. Nice, nice. Oh, open it up. This could go badly. Good. Great. Good. Great. And then again, don't worry about the feet. We'll just stick with the arms for now. Just start to play with releasing the elbows up. The feel in the elbows that it raises and lowers goes from a little bit of flexion to extension, but not too much. Okay, so you don't want to kind of restrict the elbow, and you don't want to go into a locked out position. So just to test the ability to keep the elbow, the feeling in the elbow draining low, and feel that it's really going into the body, So you never want to feel that the elbow's kind of pulling away from the body. It's the same with like a strike. Yeah. Same with a strike. You don't want the elbow to basically lose the connection to the body. So in this case, releasing, draining the elbow, keeping it low. Good. Great. Good. Right. And then we'll take to the shoulder. So again, don't worry about the hips or anything. Just think about the shoulder hips free and basically unimpeded. So again, work with both sides. You can also work this just with one side and just feel that the shoulder's free to really mobilize to that position. So again, you're not going really through your end range of motion, but with this sulker, you just want to check in. Shoulders comfortable. Stay with open, close, open, close. Good. Just checking a little bit both sides. Good. Good. And then just start to bring in again the work of the hands, working with the elbow, and especially in this case when you go into the cut here, you can feel that the elbows are really strongly connecting into the body. Not that they're touching the body, but they're really engaged into the structure rather than pulling away from the body. So strong grip, hands working together, elbows draining down, and again the shoulder nice and mobile. Just kind of check on that whole structure of the arm. Good. Right. Okay, good. Good. So in this case, just set the feet shoulder width apart. And then what I want to just focus a little bit on the spine. So one of the dangers especially in sword work, is that the neck takes a lot of stress in the body. So we'll go to the neck and then work down to the head. The first thing with this is have a little bit of tension in the back of the neck. So it's not that I'm pulling the chin back particularly to the body, but that I'm kind of lengthening the back side of the head. If you imagine that you're sat in a car and you're trying to just gently press the back of the head towards the headrest, and that it's just got a feeling of length through the back of the neck. The neck is basically pulled strong, and you want to basically maintain that through the cut. So just play with a raise and a cut into the ground, but particularly the two positions where you raise to the top, the tendency is to lose that tensioning in the neck, and then as you engage into the cut, the tensioning tends to kind of drop off. So just keep your focus there on the back of the neck as you're doing all that work of the arms. So there's a very subtle drawing back of the neck, of the top of the head. It's just kind of activation of that back side of the neck. Good. Great. Super. Good. And then we'll just go to the upper spine section. So particularly if you're flexible in the spine, you might have a tendency for something like this to happen, where the spine and the chest base start to pull up through this motion. So what I want you to do is play with this position of the sword. Again, you've got that length through the back of the neck. Have a little bit of pressure in the back of the sword, and just feel at the top of the spine, top section of the spine, your thoracic spine, just gently pressing back into it. You're not looking to kind of push it back, but just kind of set it in place. And again, as you go into the cut, see if you can maintain that length and extension through it. You're trying to basically set the rib cage on top of the pelvis and not basically distort the upper body away from the spine and the pelvis. So just play with it. That's actually a nice position in terms of the suburi, where you can just take your time, create a nice connection to the back, to the top of the spine. And then as you go into the cut, it's free. Just keep that feeling again. Just trying to reorientate around the back side of the body and really be aware of the spine. And in this case, how the upper spine is basically orientating and the rib cage is orientating on top of the pelvis. Good. Right. Again, what really helps with this is actually the breath work. So if you can do this with in and out breath through the nose, and just take it slowly. So this kind of breath again, it's going to kind of activate the neck muscles to be nice and strong, and it's going to position the thoracic spine so it's starting to work in expansion. And particularly with the out breath, it's going to be kind of strong, long expansion out. So take your time. We'll just do a few here. Think about a nice deep in breath through the nose, and just settle it down with the cut. Don't worry about power with the cut, and you can also, in this case, just drop the cut down all the way with the exhale. So just think of a nice, strong inhale and a nice, long, active exhale through it. And if you can with the nose, it's a bit of a struggle. Also, use the mouth for it as well. But what the nose will do is just kind of make it a little bit of a longer breath also. Just activate. Really nice, sweet, good. Very nice. Great. Okay, good. We'll just go and lead them into the hip work. So start with the feet placed just in a hand. So you want to really like a comfortable position with the front foot, right foot facing forward, back foot's just aligned towards the side. First check is actually just the knees. So for the hips to kind of operate correctly or in a functional way, the knees really need to be soft. So think about, in this case, plugging the feet into the ground, settle them in, and then just play with the knees. So just the ability to straighten and release the knees. Now you want them functioning again in a very soft way. And they should both be able to flex together. So they should be both soft. Don't worry about the hips yet, just the knees. Just feel that the whole body weight's just going into the feet. Soft with the knees. Good. And then to go to the hips specifically, just take your bokken and just wedge it into the front hip. So very gently. Don't put too much force into it. Now just play with this, which is just to wedge the hip, and you're just looking for a kind of folding of the front hip. Don't worry about the back hip for now. Just press in and just play with this motion. Again, sorry about the dogs. The knees need to be soft. What? The knees need to be soft to allow this movement to go. Good. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. Now, this is a little bit subtle, but see if you can start the movement in the hip and then the knee receives it. So rather than going like knee and then the hip tries to fold, go hip first and the knee basically releases a consequence of that. So hip goes and basically squeezes out the knee. Hip goes, squeezes out the knee. So the orientation of the movement is basically hip down, and not knee first, basically. The knee releases at the same time, but the actual the impulse of the movement, you want really coming from the hip, going from the hip. That's it. Good. Good. Okay, good. And then go to the full movement with this. This, in this case, just going to start to work the back hip as well. So you've got that position, pull up to the top of the movement. The hip flexor in this case is long, and then engage fully into that movement. The work of this hip's the same. You're just starting to draw the hips into this, motion. So the other thing you're doing is in this case really placing all the weight on the back leg. So you're shifting the weight to the back leg, and then you're entering into the 50-50 position. Shifting to the back leg, entering into the 50-50 position. And then just let that front hip do the job that it was doing before. And we're just folding, the knee releases. Now in this case, the back leg is going to be engaged in the movement as well. Great, got it. So quite a subtle movement, but really important for the surfer. Great. Great. Okay, good. And then the other one that comes up with this, because it's footwork, because the feet are moving, the tendency is to start the movement in the feet. So it's something like pushing the foot back, and then the foot goes, and then the body goes. Pushing the foot back, and then the foot goes, and the body goes. Again, think about orientating everything around the hip. So the sword in that position, use the feedback that you've got here, and think about drawing the foot back from the hip. So it's like you pull the foot out of the ground from the hip, and then you place it in the ground from the hip. So the hip, again, is the kind of the point from which you organize the whole body from. So hip releases, pulls the foot with it, hip releases and presses the foot forward. Again, you're just trying to orientate everything around the hip work now. And it's not that the knees go later or the foot goes later, they go together, but you want the hip to be the driver for it. Yes. Before we bring the sword cut into it, just play with a few hip work patterns. The first one is rather than bringing the foot back, it's just switching the feet and then bringing the leg back. So you bring the feet together, switch in, and again, think about the same orientation. The hip's going to basically drive the foot in, and then the hip's going to draw the foot back. Hip in, hip back, in, hip back. And again, you want all that folding work to stay in place. And then as you're doing it, just check on the knees being soft. As soon as the knees start to brace or straighten, all this movement of the hip is basically lost. So I need the knees to be soft first. And once that's the case, the hip can start to function into the foot. And you can start to drive the motion from the hip. In this case, you get this very nice kind of accordion kind of feeling of the hips, closing and opening of the hip. So, very nice. Got it. Good. Okay. The main work of this one is to basically like individuate the hip. So rather than working like the hips this way, where they basically just press together, think about one hip really being able to mobilize. So in this case, it's going to be the back hip. It's going to really mobilize. The front hip, in this case, just receives it. If the front hip's soft, the back hip can really work through it. So the best way to think about this is having one anchor, strong anchor in the leg, and then the back foot's going to be really able to mobilize. You've got a stable hip, you've got a mobile hip, and then you switch them in the movement. stable, mobile, and then it switches. Flips the movement. So, sorry about these dogs. There we go. Good. Great. And then the next one, just a very simple rotation. So you just pick the foot up, change direction, and then re-establish the front hip. Pick the foot up, change direction, re-establish the front hip. Again, play in this case a little bit exaggerated to really pick the foot up, place it, pick the foot up, place it. And then it's just gonna chance the ability to keep the knees soft, keep the hips as the kind of focus for the movement. But just a very simple rotation with it. Again, just an exploration of the hip work. Ooh, get the sentiment in there. And here we go. So, very nice. Great, very nice. Good. And then just play with these three together. So you've got drawing the foot back, placing it. You've got stepping the feet, changing the feet, and you've got rotating. You can also do that first one on the left side as well. So exactly the same movement, particularly in this case, just we're not using the arm. So you've got a rotation, you've got a switch of the leg, and you've got a drawing of the leg back and placing it. And that first one, really the first test of the connection. And all the other two are just variations, checks on that position. Just really drive the whole body with it. And as you're doing it, just start to bring your awareness back to the spine, back to the torso, and to the position of the head, the neck, as you're doing all the leg work patterns, footwork patterns. Good. 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 And just one more step before we go to cutting. Think about going into extension with the sword and do the same pattern. So particularly the second and third one in terms of switching and rotating. And you just want to play with the ability of the sword to just track to the center. And again, really bringing your awareness now. You've got the weight out with the arm, you've got the extension. Really think about the spine. So it's very easy to start to get pulled away from this, pulled away into the sword. Think about kind of very gentle kind of opposition from the tip of the sword, back of the body. So there's a very subtle pull the body through the extension of the arm. You can also play with that first one. But the main thing in this case is just to play with extension, switching position. Just feel the whole torso of the body and the upper body just resting on the lower body. Good. Second. Very good. Good. And then we'll bring the cut back into it. So all of this is 𝘱𝘠𝘢 work. You've got three options. You've got drawing the foot back and cutting. You've got stepping the feet together, cutting, and you've got rotating out to the back. You've got these three options. Just center line through the body, straight down, straight down, straight down, straight down. Just play with a few different patterns with it. Good. Good. And just one thing with this, which is just a visualization. It's all three of these patterns. They don't require really the center to do much shifting. So what I want to, if you imagine like a really heavy weight attached to your center of your body, and basically drawing right down to the ground. So like there's a heavy weight underneath the ground, not just kind of resting on the ground, but actually dropping into the ground this way. And as you do these footwork patterns, this one, this one, and this one. Just imagine the pull of that weight down to the ground. So you don't have to move the feet in this case. In terms, I mean that you don't have to shift the weight through the feet. You're just basically playing within the base of support, and you're just shifting into it. But imagine there's really this heavy weight down. Now there needs to be a little bit of a real kind of fullness in the body to basically resist the pull of the weight down. And I want to basically create a strong connection down without losing any of the verticality of the body. Working really within the base, allowing all that weight to drain down, but not being pulled down by it. As so. Okay. Good. Great. Good. Okay, great. We'll go to a 𝘥𝘢𝘦𝘴 and we'll just explore again a few footwork patterns. The first one in this case, just to exchange on the spot and taking it down here now. So the key difference now is you've got that circularity to the raise, and you've got a diagonal cut coming down. So the hip work now is really going to orientate the sword around the body. And if you just imagine again that kind of heavy weight drawing down through the core of the body into the ground. Instagram, really trying to get a heaviness through this movement, particularly in the raise. So you want to raise with all the weight of the body draining down. Good. Got it. Right. Good. Very good. Right, good. And then we'll just take to a little bit of stepping. So the key with this is really feel that the weight centering with the foot as you step in. So when you step now with this connection, this leg's really stable, this leg's mobile, and then all the weight enters with the step. Enters with the step. So just play around a little bit in the space you've got. Stepping through cutting. Stepping through cutting. Don't worry about so much going straight, but think about again placing the weight through the cut as you take the step. As you take the step. With a 𝘥𝘢𝘦𝘴. Good. Yeah. It's a little bit of a tricky one this way. You actually learn this ability in the first suburi. So the reason it's easier in the first suburi is because you've got a really stable position already with the back leg. So you do this and then you do this. So you're entering the weight here with the foot. Here with the foot. Now when you do this stepping, the problem is this, that I'm not really stable and then I'm kind of waiting for the back foot to arrive to finish the cut, to apply the cut. So just play with it, but risk losing your structure to do it. But it's something like this will happen as I go into this cut with it. So that the problem with it is that I'm actually not totally stable through the movement, but I really need to commit the cut into the foot here, and then the back foot's just going to come in to stabilize the body. But I'm not waiting for the back foot to apply the apply the cut. So I'm not waiting for that stability. Except that you're actually unstable at the point of cutting. You actually use the cut to stabilize the body, rather than stabilizing the body first and then cutting. Something like this. But just think about one thing, which is just to enter the body in. Then if you feel the body's unstable, it's because it is. And I need to do a lot of work to basically stabilize the body in a really dynamic movement. So it's a little bit of a tricky area to work. That sun's really getting in the way. Good. Listen. Okay. Good, perfect. We'll just finish with a little bit of the ski work. So just working specifically with number 7. In this case, so your comment and a left side ski. And just play with traveling around a little bit. You've got right side your comment, left side ski. Right side your comment, left side ski. It's a really nice movement for the hip. Start to really release into spiral work. Let's play with this space, move around a little bit, mix in, rotating, stepping. Set. What? Good. And last minute or so, just really play with all these movements. You've got showman, yokomen, ski, and also add in a little bit, if you want, and a little bit of slicing work, just to open the format for a bit. Move the body around. Yokomen, showman, showman. Work with the ski. Want to start working it? And a little bit of slicing work. Whoa. You last 30 seconds out, just find a shoulder width posture, release the sword much you can with the hand. Let's find a little bit of a bounce. Let's think about bouncing the stretcher out, left side, right side. Feel where the weight is in the feet. Release out the face, the neck, shoulders. Keeping the knees soft. Big, deep inhales coming up with the hands. Over the shoulders, reach up. Release them down with the exhale. Put the hands together, bring the hands up to the top with the exhale, with the inhale, sorry. So a little bit of a rotation, torsion through the spine. Exhale through the torsion. Come back to center, take a deep breath in. Take it the other way. Moving back to center, drop the arms down. Shake out a bit. Great. We will stop right there. Great. Domo arigato.
Domo, arigatou gozaimashita.
Okie dokie. There we go. Thank you very much.